All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we are diving deep into everything we know so far about Daredevil, Born Again.
The man without fear is back.
That's right. We're breaking down all the juicy details about his return to the MCU.
A lot to unpack, for sure.
From behind-the-scenes shakeups to casting rumors and those little hints they dropped at D23.
A mountain of intel to sift through.
That's right, and we are going to do our best to try to sift through it all for you guys. Mainly, we will be pulling from Collider's in-depth piece on what to expect.
Sounds good.
And some of the most insightful comments from their readers.
I love those.
You know what? This deep dive might just answer the question that's been haunting every Daredevil fan
Oh, yeah.
since the Netflix series went dark.
This is bar.
Is Born Again a continuation, a reboot, or something else entirely?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And honestly, having gone through all this material, I think the answer is more complex than a simple yes or no. It's like they're weaving a new tapestry using threads from the original series, but adding in new patterns and textures that are distinctly MCU.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah.
But before we get lost in the multiverse of possibilities, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
When can we actually expect Daredevil, Born Again, to grace our screens?
So after some delays, the official release date is March 4th, 2025, exclusively on Disney+.
Okay.
The strikes definitely played a part in pushing things back, but word on the street is they also wanted to make some significant changes to ensure the series really captures the essence of the original.
Interesting. So they're taking their time to get it right, which is a good sign, right?
Absolutely. And while we wait, we do have some tantalizing bits of information to chew on.
Okay, such as?
For example, those lucky enough to attend D23 got an exclusive sneak peek at some footage.
Okay, so some people have seen it.
Yep.
But no official trailer for the rest of us mere mortals yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, come on, spill the beans.
Okay.
What did the footage reveal?
Well, alongside familiar faces like Charlie Cox as Daredevil,
Right.
and Vincent D'Onofrio reprising his role as the formidable Kingpin, we also got a glimpse of some exciting new additions to the cast, including White Tiger.
Now, White Tiger is an intriguing character. Any hints about what role she might play?
Well, there's been some buzz about this. Charlie Cox himself mentioned a specific storyline involving White Tiger
Really?
that got him really pumped even back in 2014 when he first took on the Daredevil mantle.
Wow.
He said he was excited about the dynamic between their characters, so I think it's safe to say we can expect some sparks to fly.
Ooh, that sounds promising. It seems like they're not shying away from exploring those complex relationships that made the Netflix series so captivating.
Right.
Speaking of creative energy, have we heard anything about who's steering the ship behind the scenes?
There have been some interesting developments there as well.
Such as?
Initially, Matt Corman and Chris Ord, the duo behind Covert Affairs, were set to write the series.
Okay.
However, they've since transitioned into executive producer roles.
Okay, so who's taken the reins as showrunner?
Dario Scardapane, who you might know from his work on The Punisher.
Okay.
And this is a pretty big deal because it's actually a first for a Disney Plus Marvel show.
Is it really?
Yes, having a showrunner who's not also a writer for the series.
No, that's a bold move. And to shake things up even further, they've brought in Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead to direct. Those guys are known for their work on Moon Knight and Loki, which had some pretty distinct visual styles.
Exactly. Their involvement definitely suggests a darker, more psychological direction, which aligns with the tone of the Netflix series. And that brings us to one of the biggest points of discussion among fans, the tone of Born Again.
Yeah.
Will it lean into the grittier, more grounded feel of the Netflix series, or will it be more in line with the lighter tone we've seen in some of the other Disney Plus Marvel shows?
That's been a hot topic ever since the show was announced. I mean, Daredevil's world is pretty dark.
It is.
Dealing with organized crime, corruption, and some pretty brutal violence.
Yeah.
How do you see that meshing with the generally more family-friendly vibe of the MCU?
Well, it's interesting because Charlie Cox himself has addressed this, saying that finding the right balance is key.
Okay.
He talked about wanting to see how Matt Murdock can exist in this new world without compromising the core of who he is.
I see.
And Vincent D'Onofrio has actually gone on record stating that Born Again will retain the darkness and intensity of the original series.
Wow.
Even going so far as to say they're doing things that are a first for Disney Plus.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're really committed to staying true to the spirit of the Netflix series, which is what a lot of fans, myself included, are hoping for.
Absolutely. And You know, thinking about those comments from D'Onofrio and Cox, it makes you wonder if maybe the MCU is ready to explore some more mature themes and stories.
Right, maybe Born Again is a sign that they're willing to push the boundaries a bit.
Yeah.
To delve into those morally gray areas that Daredevil navigates so well.
I think it's a definite possibility. And if they do it right, it could open up a whole new dimension to the MCU, a darker and more complex side that could really resonate with audiences.
Okay, but let's not forget, this is still a Marvel show. We're likely to see some exciting action sequences, right? Daredevil's known for those incredibly choreographed fight scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Charlie Cox has confirmed that those iconic fight scenes will be back.
Okay, good.
And he even teased a very long, very cool fight sequence done in one continuous shot. Remember how they used those long takes in the Netflix series to really immerse you in the action? It seems like they're going to take that to a whole new level in Born Again.
Okay, I'm already on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away envisioning those epic fight scenes, let's talk about the cast.
Right.
We know Cox and D'Onofrio are back, but what about the supporting players? Are we going to see any familiar faces from the Netflix series?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. There's been a lot of speculation about who might return. We know John Bernthal is reprising his role as Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, which is huge news for fans of that character.
The Punisher's return is definitely going to shake things up. I can't wait to see how they handle that dynamic.
Yeah.
But what about Foggy and Karen? Those characters were such an integral part of the original series.
That's the million-dollar question, right? So far, there's been no official confirmation about Deborah Ann Wool or Eldon Henson returning.
Oh, really?
There have been rumors swirling around, but until Marvel makes an announcement, we're all just left wondering.
Fingers crossed they come back. Their absence would definitely be felt. But hey, even without Foggy and Karen, the cast is already shaping up to be pretty spectacular. What about new characters? Any exciting additions we should be aware of?
There are a few intriguing new faces joining the cast. Michael Gandolfini, who you might recognize from The Many Saints of Newark, has a role, though we don't know who he's playing yet.
Oh, interesting.
And there's Artie Fouchan, who's playing a main character named Harry.
A major character named Harry. That's interesting. I wonder if he could be a character from the comics that they're adapting for the MCU.
That's a great thought. There are a few Harrys in the Daredevil universe. Could he be someone connected to the Kingpin? Or maybe even an ally for Daredevil? We'll have to wait and see.
The mystery is definitely part of the fun, isn't it? But speaking of intriguing connections, I have to ask about potential crossovers. With Daredevil back in the MCU, the possibilities are endless.
Right. And there have been some strong hints about characters who might pop up in Born Again. We know Alaqua Cox's Echo is a likely candidate, considering her brief but memorable encounter with Matt Murdock in her own series.
That would be amazing. Their dynamic was so electric, and it would be great to see that storyline continue.
Yeah.
Anyone else on your crossover wish list?
Well, a lot of fans are hoping for a Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk appearance. They had great chemistry in She-Hulk, and their personalities played off each other so well.
I'm totally with you on that one. Seeing those two back together would be pure gold.
Yeah.
But you know what? With 18 episodes to play with, they have plenty of time to explore all sorts of possibilities.
Exactly. And that brings us to a point that was raised in that Collider article we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
It's almost unheard of for a Marvel Disney Plus show to have that many episodes.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think that means for the scope and scale of Born Again?
I think it means we're in for something truly epic.
Yeah.
With that much screen time, they can delve into storylines and character arcs in a way we haven't really seen before in the MCU. They can really build out the world of Hell's Kitchen and explore its complexities.
I completely agree. And it makes you wonder if maybe this series is going to be more than just a standalone story. Could it be setting the stage for something bigger, something that will have repercussions throughout the entire MCU?
Ooh, now that's a tantalizing thought. I mean, Daredevil has always been connected to the larger Marvel universe, even in the Netflix series.
Right. And with the multiverse in play, there's no telling what kind of connections they might establish in Born Again.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. But before we get too carried away with our theories, let's take a step back and look at what we know for sure.
Yeah.
We know Born Again is officially being called a soft reboot,
Right.
bridging the gap between the Netflix series and Daredevil's future in the MCU.
Right.
But that term soft reboot leaves a lot open to interpretation.
Yeah, it does.
What do you make of it?
It's a clever move on Marvel's part.
Uh-huh.
It acknowledges the legacy of the Netflix series while giving them the freedom to reimagine certain elements for the MCU.
Okay.
Think of it like this. They're not hitting the reset button completely, but they're also not bound by every single detail established in the previous series.
So they can cherry-pick the elements that worked best and introduce new ideas to expand the story.
Exactly. It's a balancing act, but it has the potential to create something really special.
Okay.
We might see familiar storylines or characters reinterpreted in unexpected ways, or even completely new elements introduced that build on the foundation laid by the Netflix series.
And with a longer episode order, they have the space to really delve into those nuances and complexities. We could see Matt Murdock's legal career explored in more depth, or maybe we'll get a deeper dive into the inner workings of the Kingpin's criminal empire.
Yeah, I'm particularly fascinated by the possibility of seeing how Daredevil's moral compass will be tested in the MCU.
Yeah.
He's always walked a fine line between justice and vengeance.
Right.
And the MCU presents a whole new set of ethical dilemmas for him to grapple with.
That's so true. Imagine him facing off against a villain who's technically on the side of the law.
Right.
Or having to make a difficult choice that pits him against other heroes.
The potential for conflict is huge.
It is.
And it would be really interesting to see how his Catholic faith influences his decisions in those situations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the other characters. A soft reboot means they can revisit those relationships and dynamics, maybe even introduce some tension or conflict that wasn't there before.
That's what makes a soft reboot so compelling. It's not just about bringing back familiar faces. It's
Right.
about exploring how they've changed and grown since we last saw them.
And speaking of change, we can't overlook the visual style of Born Again. We already mentioned Benson and Moorhead's involvement, and their previous work suggests a willingness to experiment and push the boundaries.
Right. They're known for their unique camera work and their ability to create a really atmospheric and unsettling mood.
Yeah.
Just think about some of the visually stunning scenes in Moon Knight.
Yeah.
That's the kind of creative vision they could bring to Daredevil. Born Again.
It's exciting to think about what they might do with Daredevil's radar sense. Remember how the Netflix series used sound design and visual effects to represent his heightened senses?
Absolutely. They could really elevate that in Born Again.
Yeah.
Using more sophisticated techniques to create an even more immersive and visceral experience for the viewer.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Okay, before we get too lost in the possibilities, I want to bring up something that caught my eye in the Collider comments section.
Okay.
A reader named Ronald mentioned how excited he was to see the original cast members returning.
And I think that sentiment echoes what a lot of fans are feeling.
Yeah.
There's a sense of ownership and connection to those characters.
Right.
And seeing them back in action is a huge draw.
It definitely speaks to the impact the Netflix series had. Even though it wasn't officially part of the MCU at the time, it resonated with audiences in a really powerful way.
And now with Bourne, again, they have a chance to build on that legacy and create something even more extraordinary.
Well, I don't know about you, but after diving into all this information, I'm even more excited for Daredevil, Born Again. It feels like they're really taking their time to craft a story that will honor the character, push the boundaries of the MCU, and leave a lasting impact on viewers.
I completely agree. And I think that's a testament to the enduring appeal of Daredevil as a character.
Right.
He's complex, flawed, and deeply human, and his struggles resonate with us on a fundamental level.
And now with the full force of Marvel Studios behind him, we can expect those struggles to play out on an even grander scale.
It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure.
Well, everyone, that brings our deep dive into Daredevil, Born Again, to a close. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
From release dates and cast confirmations to tonal shifts and crossover possibilities.
A lot.
But the biggest takeaway for me is this. Born Again has the potential to be something truly special, a game changer for the MCU that will redefine what a superhero story can be.
And until we get that first official trailer, we'll just have to keep speculating and counting down the days until we can finally return to Hell's Kitchen with A Man Without Fear.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. Stay tuned to Marvel Scope for more deep dives into the ever-expanding world of Marvel. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep